Emily, back with another House of Night book review. And today it's 2 for 1, because one of them's a novella, like I did with the Fletchling Handbook and Marked. First, we'll be discussing Awakened, then we'll be discussing Dragon's Oath. Let's do this. Zoe lives. Nefret's voice was flat, cold, lifeless. She does. What will happen next? It is quite simple. I will ensure Zoe is drawn back to Oklahoma. There, on my own terms, I will complete the task you failed. Nefret. Speaking to Kelowna, obviously. Nefret is such a hoe bag. Sorry, that is one of my sayings. I like saying hoe bag. It's just cool. It's me. So, in Awakened, Zoe is supposed to go back to Oklahoma, to Tulsa, to the House of Night, but the queen, I think her name is Horsha. It's Scottish, so I do struggle to get the names right. Horsha tells Zoe that she doesn't have to go back. She needs to let Stark recuperate completely. She needs to get him to trust his bow and arrow again because he lost faith in himself. And he isn't considered a warrior anymore now. He's considered a guardian after what he did to save Z in the other world, which it's unheard of. Every high priestess whose soul has shattered and their warrior goes into the other world to get them, they both end up dying. So Z and Stark are the first ones that made it back. Because Zoe's awesome, and Stark's awesome, and everything's just peachy fucking keen. So she's like, okay, Aphrodite and Darius can go back so long and make sure everything's cool back in Oklahoma. Even though Jack and the Nerd Herd are like arranging this big welcome back Zoe thing. And Jack geeks the hell out, gays the hell out, when Zoe says, listen honey, I'm not coming back yet. But he calms down when Stark talks to him, at least, because Stark's like his big brother. He's like so cool. And that happens. Zoe and Stark stay on the Isle. She actually gets Stark to practice with his bow and arrow again by saying, I want to learn how to do it, you know, cute girlfriend shits. And back in Tulsa, things are a bit crazy still. The bad fledglings want to use Rephaim to get back at Stevie Ray because they have him captive now. He has feelings for Stevie Ray that he doesn't quite understand, but he doesn't want to be used against her because he's kind of in love with her. But he also is struggling to decide between following his heart and doing what his father wants him to do. Because they split up at the end of Burned, which is where the Red Fletchlings found him. But don't worry, that has a happy ending. That does have a happy ending, and it happens in this book, so I can tell you guys about it in a few minutes. Back in Scotland, on the Isle of Skye, let's just say Z and Stark take their relationship to the next level, which is why, Maddie, my darling, if you're watching this, you're only 12, you're not allowed to read these books yet, okay, so calm down, you're almost there, relax. Yeah, but then something happens. Something bad happens back in Tulsa involving Jack, which is really sad. Poor Damien, my heart broke. I actually cried when I read this, and I cry every time I read this, including in Betrayed, where Stevie Ray dies. I always cry myself to death, even though I know that Stevie Ray comes back. So yeah, Nefret does something to Jack, which, I'm so sorry for the meowing. I think she wants to be part of my book discussion, to be quite honest. But yeah, so Nefret does something to Jack, which kind of forces Z and Stark to go back. But Sorsha gives her a present, a seer stone. Now, I'm not sure if you say it's seer or seer. It lets you see the magic in the world. Because on the Isle of Skye, there's sprites. They're so pretty. You read about them in Awaken because Saoirse wants to like train Zoe to become the next queen of the Isle. Awesome! But Z understands, even though she would love to stay there on the Isle and not have to deal with Nefret and Kelowna's bullshit, that she has to go and she has to help her friends and her grandma and the House of Night. So she does go back. She goes back. And at the end, in this book, there's this huge funeral pyre. First for Anastasia. She dies. Anastasia dies. She died in Hunted while Z and her friends were escaping. She was fighting the Ravenmockers, and I think it's actually Rephaim that killed her. Yeah, that's going to be complicated. And then there's also the pyre for Jack. Now, at Jack's pyre, Zoe tries to say some really nice words and all that stuff. And Neferet shows up. Completely naked, I might add. Like, butt naked as the day she was born. She shows up asking Zoe for forgiveness. And Stevie Ray is there, and Rephaim shows up. And Stevie Ray's like, don't kill him, I love him. We're imprinted, I love him. And everyone's like, wait, what? And Zoe says, it's not me that you have to ask for forgiveness. You have to ask Nyx, you have to ask the goddess. And miraculously, Nyx appears. She appears and the whole school's like, it's Nyx. And she showed up for Zoe. Zoe must be really special. And Nyx looks at Nefret and says, well, you haven't been walking the path of night for a very long time. You've been listening to the whispers that you weren't supposed to listen to. But you have my forgiveness. Huh? She blesses Rephaim. She forgives him because he's like, please forgive me for the deeds that I have done in my father's name. And she's like, I can see you love my daughter, Stevie Ray, so I'm going to forgive you and I'm going to give you a gift. During the day when the sun is up, you will be a complete Ravenmocker, which means he's not going to be like that, like weird, like he is now, half bird, half dude. It's going to be a birdie, literally a birdie. And then at night he'll transform into a guy, a real guy, and we see a glimpse of how he's going to look like in Burn when they look into a fountain, him and Stevie Ray, and he's this very attractive Cherokee teenager. And it's like, okay, that's awesome. So you would think and hope that Neferet has learned her freaking lesson here. Because, I mean, the gods forgave her. Take it. Be happy with it and leave. Because she's still trying to be the high priestess at this House of Night. Which she isn't. Because the High Council told her, nope. You lied to us about a whole bunch of shit, so you ain't a high priestess anymore. The high priestess at this House of Night, at the moment, I can't give it away. I can't give it away. It only happens in Dayston. Shit. Okay, but Dayston will be discussed next week, so it's not that bad. After this, she goes, still naked as all hell, goes to Grandma Redbird's house. Grandma Redbird isn't there. Linda, Zoe's mom, which was such a bitch, she actually realized she was being such a bitch, and she wanted to say sorry to Grandma Redbird and to Zoe. She wanted to fix their relationships, but she never got the chance because Neferet sacrificed her. She sacrifices Z's mom to bring forth Aurochs. Half bull, half boy. Now the bulls do play a very important role in these books. I haven't told you guys everything because you have to read it. I'm not going to give spoilers. There's a white bull and a black bull. Now, what switches these around, the white bull is the baddie and the black bull is the goodie. It's like the thing that Nyx tells Zoe in the very first book. Darkness does not always equate to evil. just as like does not always bring good. It's one of my favorite quotes ever. I love it. But that's how this book ends. A whole lot of heartbreak. Z's mom dies. And they only figure out Nefer did it in like the next book. Because Grandma Redbird has to show up at the school and tell Z, I'm so sorry, darling. You wait, see Agaya, which is the Cherokee word for daughter. I'm sorry, but your mother is dead. Yeah. But the Natos is going to help Zoe in the next book. You'll see more about that. But that's Awakened for you. Dragon's Oath. Had I chosen differently those many years ago, perhaps I could have kept all this from happening. Strength, tempered by mercy, was a mistake. Do you not remember, my love? I do. I will never forget. Now, I mean, just look at that. I mean, hello, dragon, you were super sexy, like, damn. This book was made to tell us more about Dragon. Because, well, Dragon's real name is Brian Langford, just so that you guys know that. This is like in the 1800s, I think. Can't remember the date. He was a lord's son, and then he got marked, and he got sent to a house of knights, where there was this very nice Professor Anastasia. And he fell in love with Professor Anastasia. It turned out that they were mates, that they were in love. And this book tells us, it shows us, the very first appearance of a raven mocker and a bad human that was trying to use it because he wanted Anastasia for himself. Humans suck. The only human I like in this series so far is Grandma Redbird. Literally, the only human that I like. Okay, and Aphrodite, because she's human now. But she's also not completely human, so I don't think that counts. But when they had the chance to kill the raven mocker, Anastasia told Dragon not to do it. You have to have mercy. And he still regrets that decision in the new books, in these books. Which makes the relationship between him and Rephaim so weird, so awkward. He does eventually forgive Rephaim for what he did. But I can't imagine that was easy. It was really... yeah. So that's basically Dragon's Oath in a nutshell. Is his meeting Anastasia, growing their relationship, finding out about the raven mocker and the bad human that wanted Anastasia for himself. But guys, that's it. These are two very depressing books. Like, what are we doing with our lives? But next week we'll be discussing Destined. Such a nice cover. I think that's supposed to be the Seer Stone. We'll be discussing that next week, and I think Zenobia's Vow we're also supposed to discuss with that one, but I'll just make sure. If I missed where I was supposed to do it, I'll just do a recap little video somewhere and upload it with one of the others. But do not forget to stake that like button, hit the notification bell with a silver bullet, leave a comment down below, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next week.